So it was a little weird to see Tim Ryan of Ohio vote for this. Tim Ryan was supposed to be a working man's Democrat, a guy who cares about bread and butter issues. Tim Ryan represents Youngstown in Akron. Take a look at Akron sometime. It's like a war zone itself. These are the cities that built America, crumbling and desperate now from total neglect. But don't you worry. Tim Ryan is totally committed to rebuilding Kiev. And so is Nancy Pelosi. For Pelosi, funding Ukraine at any cost is more than a foreign policy objective. It's a kind of religious observance.
The brutality of Putin is not just what he's doing in Ukraine, but the impact that it is having on food for the world.
That doesn't make sense.
So when you're home thinking, what is this all about? Just think about when I was hungry, you fed me, in the Gospel of Matthew.
Is y'all right upstairs?
Oh, so Jesus wants to send more missiles to Ukraine. And the more missiles we send to Ukraine, the less hungry people are going to be. Wait a second. Wouldn't Jesus want to do everything possible to bring an end to the war in Ukraine? You religious little twit. How dare you quote that book? By the way, there was a time when Nancy Pelosi didn't want to spend billions of dollars to secure a country's border. She said it was wasteful and morally wrong.
What?
It wasn't that long ago, by the way. It was April of 2017. See if you notice the difference. She's for spending billions at borders now. She was opposed to it then. What changed? Watch.
Okay.
The wall is, in my view, immoral, expensive, unwise. And when the president says, well, I promised a wall during my campaign, I don't think he said he was going to pass billions of dollars of cost of the wall onto the taxpayer.
I said, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait, first of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
Oh, did you catch that? Border security in the United States is immoral. But Jesus is strongly for border security in Ukraine and abortion, by the way. It's a sacrament. As usual, Democrats, as ludicrous as this may sound, are united on this point.
Well, duh.
They stand as one. But also, as usual, a sustained propaganda campaign in the American media has managed to divide the Republican Party. Now, why does this happen every single time? Here's why. Because Republican office holders, no matter how conservative they tell you they are, believe the New York Times. They care deeply what legacy media say.
What?
Do you remember that? 2 years ago this month, Nikki Haley, former governor of South Carolina, running for president, she's conservative. She told Americans in the first days of the riots that they deserved to suffer after George Floyd died.
That's crazy!
Quote, in order to heal, it needs to be personal and painful for everyone, she wrote. And in the end, it was personal and painful. A lot of people died. And that was good, because your racism killed George Floyd. That was Nikki Haley's first reaction. She read it in the New York Times, and she believed that they all do. So it shouldn't shock you that Nikki Haley's first reaction to the Russia invasion, and Mitch McConnell's first reaction too, and the first reaction of so many other Republican leaders, was that protecting Ukraine is way more important than protecting you.
What the hell?
Than protecting America. And Mitch McConnell hasn't, to his credit, moved from that. He still thinks it. Here he was yesterday.
I think we all agree the most important thing going on in the world right now is the war in Ukraine.
Okay.
I had a chance to call the president last week and request that the Ukraine package move by itself and quickly. He said, let me think it over. He called back in about 15 minutes and agreed that we need to do this Ukraine only and quickly. I think we're on the path to getting that done.
Is y'all right upstairs?
You gotta hope that there's some sincere billionaire out there who's going to fund a primary challenge against every single one of those Republican senators standing behind Mitch McConnell. As he said, and we'll quote again, I think we all agree the most important thing going on in the world right now is the war in Ukraine. Why? Why? No. The most important thing going on in the world right now is the state of your country, the one you're supposed to run. the people you're supposed to represent, whose lives you're supposed to care about, the ones who can't buy food or gas, the people ODing on fentanyl.
Fact.
107,000 in a year dead young people, Americans. But that's nothing compared to Ukraine. We all agree Ukraine is the most important thing. Really, if you agree with that, you should not be sitting in the United States Senate as a Republican. Let's take out Putin. It's weird to see a guy live out his strange little fantasy life on TV live. Lindsey Graham won't come on this show. He's afraid. We could spend the next hour playing clips of Lindsey Graham going back 20 years making predictions that didn't come true and resulted only in the death of American servicemen and the impoverishment of the United States.
Oh my God!
He's gotten it wrong every single time, and he's still out there. Let's just take out Putin. Really, what would happen then? The country has 6,000 nuclear weapons. Would they be unsecured? You thought we had a mess on our hands when Saddam's arsenals fell into the hands of lunatics and extremists? What would happen to those 6,000 nuclear weapons if we just take out Putin? They don't even think about it. They don't care. They're high on their own supply. Dan Crenshaw of Texas, for example, not a stupid guy, just announced that we're, quote, investing in the destruction of our adversary's military when we spend $40 billion on Ukraine.
Boy.
Investing in the destruction of our adversary's military. Since when did we declare war on Russia? Did anybody vote for that? Our adversary's military? That's what you do in war. Since when are we fighting Russia? Well, since Putin stole the election from Hillary Clinton.
You got me.
Glad to see that Dan Crenshaw has signed up for this new campaign. But you got to wonder at what cost, not just the peril, the real peril that this could escalate into something crushing for the West, but what immediate cost to the United States and our own ability to defend ourselves? All those people who love the military, do they ever ask that question? Right now, Joe Biden and the U.S. Congress have sent so much military aid to Ukraine that our country, the United States, is running out of weapons.
What the hell?
According to Bloomberg, quote, Pentagon officials say that Kiev is blowing through a week's worth of deliveries of anti-tank munitions every day. It's also running short of usable aircraft as Russian airstrikes and combat losses take their toll. Ammunition has become scarce in Mariupol and other areas in Ukraine. This is presenting Western countries with a stark choice between pouring more supplies into Ukraine or husbanding finite capabilities they may need for their own defense. That's the line. They may need for their own defense. It's a scary world, and if you blow it all on Ukraine with finite resources, which we have, sorry, where does that leave you? Undefended.
Boy, that escalated quickly.